Welcome, people, to All You Can Eat Warriors, and it's great to be back, guys, after a week off due to commitments. But we are very, very grateful to be here, especially after a win. Start with you, my man Ash. How have you been? How's things been going in your neck of the woods?
Yeah, good, bro. Good. Everything's always good when the Warriors get a good win over the long weekend. You know what I mean? We get to celebrate properly. And over here, I don't know if you have grilled over in New Zealand, but over here we have grilled. So you can put down your favorite team, and if they win the game, you get a free burger the week later. So I'm probably gonna have to go to grilled tomorrow night and pick up my free burger for the Warriors, baby.
Is that for all 17 teams?
Yeah, bro. You can pick a team, and if their favorite team they win over the weekend, you're on.
So they're giving like 8 teams fans free burgers.
Yep. And if you're a Panthers fan the last couple of years, you're selling those guys out. It's crazy.
Yeah, they are bigger out that way, I can tell you that. Every time I track out there, like, Jesus, a lot of takeaway out
here. And guys, special welcome into our guest tonight. Yes, Metalhead, you are correct. Keith as guest. Keith Whitelock, the Warriors diehard and creator of Everything Rugby League podcast. We're grateful to have you on, Keith, man. How are you doing, brother?
Yeah, good. I'd like to apologize to everyone that was waiting in line there. That was my fault for those technical issues that I was having. Bloody hell, you think a G20 country like Australia would have better internet than what it has, but it's infuriating when that happens, isn't it? But anyway, alas, I'm here, and I'm really pumped to be here. So long-time listener of both Ash and yourself. So yeah, let's get cracking. Off a win as well. That's always good.
It is, man. It always is, guys. Yeah, no. So, guys, if you don't know, Keith has obviously got his own podcast and is actually on This Warriors Life a lot. So you guys will have heard him, no doubt, if you follow the brothers there who do amazing work as well. But let's get into it, man. I know everyone in the chat's raring to go. Can we get everyone to hit the like and subscribe while you're here? And if you are new, we appreciate you guys coming. But man, post-match thoughts. Just wanted to get. We haven't had a chance, myself and Ash and yourself, Keith. But what did you guys think of the game? I'll start with yourself, Keith. What was your thoughts on how the game went, and what sort of stood out for you? Those types of things against our performance against the Broncos.
Yeah, in a weird way, deja vu, without it being actually deja vu. One of those scrappy wins where you can't be replicating it. But I guess I'm now at the stage where I'm like, we're finding a way to win. So that's awesome. I'm not going to lie. I was celebrating Greek Easter as my wife's half Greek on Saturday. And it's the first time since 2019 that all the Easters have aligned in terms of their dates. So I'd had a fair few whiskeys by the time I was watching the actual game. So this afternoon I went back and watched the full game again in preparation for this show. And I guess the general comment is the effort. The effort was there. They're playing for the badge, and they're playing for the fans, and they're playing for each other. And eventually it's got to gel in the halves. We'll find a way. We're winning. Let's be really positive about this. I'm pumped that we're top 4 somehow. Don't ask me how. But we almost blew that lead. I was getting heckled by everyone around me, and it was such a Warriors thing to do. I was like, why this fucking team every time we can't hold the lead? I think it even happened in the Jersey Flag or the SG Ball or something.
Yeah, Jersey Flag.
How do we get that far ahead as an entire club across so many grades and blow the lead every time? But we won, so I'll take it.
It's something about Kiwi. I don't know what it is, but we just get so relaxed. it's the culture over here, man. When it's good, it's too good sometimes, So, but it's been symptomatic. We all understand that. But for yourself, Ash, what did you take away from that game? I mean, like 4-2, we're looking pretty good right now. We can't complain. But yeah, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's overall a real scrappy game. I thought both teams, attacking-wise, couldn't really get much going due to the conditions over there in Auckland. So shout out to all you guys who have had to deal with the cyclone over there. I didn't keep in touch of how much damage or whatever happened with the cyclone over in New Zealand, but I hope everyone's doing safe out there and all that. But yeah, I think that didn't help us in any sort of way of, seeing maybe improvement in the halves, maybe attacking shape or anything in that sort of aspect. Also with obviously coming to the game down on, no CNK, play, no fish. There was a lot of like changes in those areas as well, mainly CNK. So Tane was probably, playing off the back of, in a game full of wet, he probably couldn't get himself into incredible shape to really, work down the outsides. And similar with the Broncos as well, I thought that, that probably lent to both maybe our aspect of the game as well, being the Broncos and how they'd like to play attacking footy with Reece Walsh out the back of shape, even though they're not doing that too well this year. The wet weather footy has kind of compacted everything and it made it an effort type game, which, as Keith obviously pointed out. And it looked like that we definitely played hard for the jersey there, and it was so great to see. You guys already know my love affair for Leeson Ah Mau. It's so good to see him continue to step up his game bit by bit. But also just, I think all our juniors, we touched on the backstage a little bit, Levon, about all our youngsters coming through and how much they're kind of stepping up to the plate. I thought Dimitri had a lot of really good moments in that game as well, coming off the bench. And even Laban for his short period of time, not so much in the attacking end, but defensively, I thought that he held himself real handily and put on a couple of really nice shots there. So I think effort-wise, everything was really nice. Would have been nice, obviously, to get the extra conversions to kind of put it out to where I kind of felt like we deserved it to be a little bit. I feel like as soon as we missed that last conversion, the Broncos felt a little bit of a sniff, and that's the reason why they came back hard with that momentum. I feel like if, Metcalfe would have slot that one for 15, just outside of that little bit of angle, I think that kind of would have put a little bit more of a dagger into the Broncos, and we probably could have seen this maybe an easier run home. But we like to make it hard ourselves, Keith? It must be just the entertainment in us. I don't know what it is. Since the day one as a Warriors fan, we just love entertainment over here.
Yeah, well, it's like I think every fan, including myself, I don't want to speak for everyone out there, but is like, we love Metcalfe and we wouldn't take him from the team. And the things that he's doing the best, we all notice, but it's not the usual things that you'd expect of a halfback. So he gets the 50-meter goal, but he misses all the other goal kicks. And we're going through this teething phase where we're still winning. And the teething phase is for the halves. Chanel is mirroring, maybe not to the degree of Jerome Luai with the Panthers, but you can see that same kind of energetic 5'8", all about the vibe, all about the energy, occasional big hits, etc. If we can just pass this teething phase that Luke Metcalfe is going through in terms of learning how to manage a game, and then we'll be sort of premiership material after that, I reckon.
Yeah, and for me, I think for the back of that too, it's I think that his general play kicking and majority of those little areas of Metcalfe is actually not too bad. I think he's fine in that sort of aspect. I think the main thing we're really wanting, I think a lot of people will be talking about, is especially with our attacking shape and a bit more direction in the point of get me here. Sort of you look at the opposite end for Adam Reynolds, very good at, when the Broncos are getting into a good attacking shape, he gets into a point and he kind of leads off the back of that shape and ends up turning into points. I think that's the next part of Metcalfe's game where he needs to get to, because obviously he's a running threat. I think his in-game kicking is actually not too bad in the aspect of that game. Beautiful 40-20 in that game. A lot of good kicks to the corner. I think Chanel's helping him in that area as well. I think it's just that little added step, and I think that's probably the last piece of the puzzle that we're waiting to see, which is going to take a little bit more time, I think. But it is right. You're 100% right. It's still a little bit of a teething period at the moment. I think it's just a little bit more patience in that area would be nice. And again, as I said before, I think the game, as in the wet weather footy, and that probably didn't help in the area of seeing any progression, because it came back to just playing, back in behind the ruck and kind of beat him through the middle, if that makes sense. So it just looked clunky. And I feel like it looked clunky for the Broncos as well. It wasn't just our inexperienced halves in my eyes anyway.
Keith, do you think that's more so to do with other, I've talked about the ball playing lock. Do you think those other roles, because we've lost that experience, that has maybe impacted on the halves a bit? Or, I saw Tane starting to inject himself a bit more than what I would see maybe CNK of late, to kind of help out. What do you put it down to? Is there other surrounding factors that are impacting the halves?
Well, I don't think you need to be a rugby league oracle to realise that Andrew Webster has changed our attack to make Wade Egan basically the chief attacking director. Yeah. And I think Chance has got even more of a role as well. So whereas before we were just going through, the 7 and the 6, now we seem to be going through the 9 and the 1 just as often, if not more often in certain games. And it's creating a completely different dynamic. So fans that were used to the way that traditional halves play, like we had with Sean Johnson for the past few years, are now seeing a completely different way of approaching each set. And if we were going to play a more conventional style, we would need to. There's only one player that we could use, and that's Tanner Boyd. He's, love him or hate him, whether you rate him or not, he was an Australian schoolboy half. He has an amazing kicking game, amazing goal kicker, mind you. I would say maybe his ceiling's not as high as Luke Metcalfe, so I think we should keep persevering with Luke Metcalfe. But we've got this weird dynamic where more of our attack comes from our number 9 than most other clubs. And I think that's what we're seeing.
Yeah, I totally agree with that point. I actually watching the game back, and I clearly saw the difference between Egan and Pay and Walters. I was like, bro, Egan is really leading this team around the park, and it is a difference for a lot of fans, and I think a lot of fans are trying to adapt to what that looks like. And I know it's still early days as well, but I think you're bang on there. Is that we're going to have to get used to kind of looking at it a little bit differently. And look, like for example, like we haven't seen a double lead block shape this year, pretty much, and that's not to say that's a bad thing. It's just to say that we're doing different things this year. Still ultimately getting similar results, maybe points wise, not heaps yet, but I think it's just sort of those things where you're thinking other players in different roles and responsibilities. Obviously, Webby has adjusted things. And like you said, if you're really watching the game and understanding the game, you would see that the way he's setting things up is so much more different. You got a thought on that, Ash, around Egan and his influence?
Yeah, 100%. I was kind of thinking, like, I kind of made this comment a little bit ago in the WhatsApp chat on how we could make this halves pairing work. And, obviously the Melbourne Storm are a variable in a sort of way of like just their system of how they've made this work over for such a long period of time. And, Craig Bellamy is the coach that he is, but there was the period there where they were trying to make Jerome Hughes into a halfback and, obviously next to Cam Munster, and they wanted Munster to step up to become more of a playmaker. But, Matty Johns has come out and talked about it and said, like, Munster was very scared about doing that. He was, he took away from his best aspects of the game. And I think when they had someone like Cam Smith that was really directive and he got them to all the points they need to be on the field, they could allow to fall back on like Jerome Hughes to be a runner again and Munster to be a runner again and play off the back of that sort of thing. And I think that for me, when I was looking at the way we run our football side at the moment, Wade Egan, I'm not calling him Cam Smith in any sort of way, but I think he's one of the closest hookers that we have in this day and age to becoming like a Cam Smith sort of player, to being so vital to an attacking, set of football, right? To where you can allow like Metcalfe to become more of a running type of halfback, or allow him to kind of bet himself into becoming a halfback later on down the track. And we may see the improvement sort of similar to what we saw with Jerome Hughes in the Melbourne Storm. As it continued to go down, like that's just a thought at the top of my head. It's a lot easier said than done because the Melbourne Storm have proven to do it again and again and again. And more times than other sides that have tried to do it, like, the Gold Coast Titans are trying to do it with Jaden Campbell at the moment. And there's a little bit of success where they do see it, and there's other moments where you don't see it. The Tigers are kind of showing at the moment with Jerome Luai trying to move himself into that 7 jersey, and they're having teething problems in that sort of area as well. But I think that for it to make it work, it's kind of looking back to that 2020 Melbourne Storm side of Cam Smith directing him, getting him around, and they were, one of the better attacking side, if not the best attacking side in that year, to get over the top of the Penrith Panthers to win that in the grand final there. So I think that's the kind of envisionment I have for this side. If it was going to work, is Wade Egan would just have to, obviously take full control of the ruck, get him to all the points of the field, and our halves kind of just, when need to settle and they need to take the play, they play eyes up footy in some sort of way, they can just go on and take it. So I definitely agree with that sentiment. I think that's probably the best way to look at our side at the moment.
Also, go Keith. You got a thought, Keith? Or
just a quick one that I agree with what Ash was saying. The Melbourne analogy is actually the perfect one because you got traditional fullbacks. You got basically 3 fullbacks in the spine there that have been able to take advantage of the plug and play style system that all the grades that are coming through the Melbourne Storm have learnt from. Basically, I don't know if they're in Harold Matts, but as far back as that system goes, and that's something that we're trying to replicate as a club as well. So quite frankly, I don't care if our New South Wales Cup, Jersey Flag, SG Ball teams win or not. I care if I'm seeing the same kind of systems being learnt consistently throughout the grades, so that if players do need to change and Wayne Egan goes down or whatever it might be, we can have players that just, we can bring up and they know exactly what their role is. We're not there yet. So I think Webby has had to completely revamp the way we attack. And rightly so, last year wasn't a good year at all, but we lost Sean Johnson, of course, in retirement. So I'm hoping that, completely revamping the way that our spine attacks, maybe this is the last year where we're sort of like really having to change and go right back to the drawing board and come out with something that we haven't seen any remnants of whatsoever, because the juniors are starting to come through. This is our second year with all the grades from memory.
Yeah.
So that's only going to get better and better. I just, as I said, I don't care whether our junior grades win. I care if I see them mirroring what our NRL team is doing. Yeah. That's what we are. I don't think we're there yet, because we're seeing a complete revamp of the attack.
And on that aspect as well, even our best season under Webby in 2023, our attacking shape and all that didn't really come into effect till mid to late in that year. Obviously, Metcalfe came into that jersey, and we started playing that right side, shape that everyone talks about. And even then, looking back to statistically, we weren't an incredible attacking side that year. Obviously, we played everything on the back of defense. If you actually look on, I think it was a Rugby League Project, you go check out our stats comparatively to Penrith and stuff. I think we were only scoring at 22 points per game, which is mid-pack. But a lot of that came from a lot of our earlier games. We weren't really, we were having moments of everything was coming together, but it just wasn't coming until mid to late. So maybe, we're probably going to see, as we continue to say with, Webby systems and stuff, just wait till probably those little mid to lates to really start to see the working and the progression and how our attack goes. Obviously, it is a little bit teething, and it's kind of frustrating in some aspects as well, because I feel like last year we had waited, but due to a lot of other circumstances, we just weren't able to get to that point to see the full thing come together. But this year, we set a really good base of, at the moment, 4-2. We're winning games on the back of effort and defense in areas, kind of holding in and all those sort of aspects of the game. So we're holding a really nice, solid base. It's just when we start to really find ourselves and really connect, that's when we're going to start seeing everything. So mid to late this year, hopefully, if everything kind of runs its track, that should be where we kind of find a lot of success.
Absolutely. And we're still winning while we're building it. So that's the good thing.
That's it. I want to track now to, you can also give guys early ball. I think when I think of an attacking style, you're always thinking of set plays, guys hitting the line at speed, decoy runners. But sometimes it's great to just see guys get early ball and let them cook pretty much. And Leka Halasema's one of those. And we've got a few others in Leotoa that can do that. But Keith, what do you make of the young guys and their progression? Was Webby right, obviously, to hold them back a little bit? It's obviously looking like that was the right call. And are they ready to maybe take that next step forward? I mean, we saw Leka get a starting role, look pretty good, scored a try, or are we still a little bit too early for their progression? What would you say?
No, I think Webby's timed it perfectly. I think Mitch Barnett has said in the past 2 press conferences that the young boys are the ones leading the way. It's the old boys that are not doing everything that they should be doing. I mean, the standards are higher and the expectations are higher around the older boys, and we obviously don't know exactly who he's referring to there. It could be multiple people, could be, whoever. But these young boys, the energy that they bring, I get Payne Haas vibes with Leka Halasema when I see him run. Just the strength, the sort of I don't mean to swear, but just get the fuck off me when someone tries to tackle him. The acceleration from a standing start. Honestly, I look at Dimitri Vayamunga and I'm like, geez, I don't notice him as much. And when I do, it's actually not him. It's Leka Halasema, because I get them mixed up because they look so similar on the field. But actually, Dimitri is developing at a perfectly normal, if not impressive rate. It's just that we're seeing a Payne Haas type player. I don't want to put too much pressure on him with that label, but the way he's playing is, name one Warriors fan out there that's not probably more excited than any other junior that they've seen come through since maybe SJ or something like that about Leka Halasema. It's just phenomenal. And Leotoa probably would have been the one that I said, he's the one that I'm most excited about. He's the one that I've been most excited about for the last few years. He's been outshone by Leka's rapid rise.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what's the alternative? Start Bunty in some of these games? It's the progression's perfect in my mind.
They're ready to go. You want to add any thoughts onto that? Maybe even about Laban, your thoughts around Laban Ash, he is listed there in the 17. Is he starting to make a step up as well, or where's what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, Laban's really, continuing on his, if you watch majority in his cup, because obviously we've only get to see a touch of him in first grade now this year. I think defensively he's really fixed up a lot of those areas, if we're going back to New South Wales Cup. But, if you watch New South Wales Cup, you're going to tell how much of a juggernaut he is in Cup at the moment, especially as you touched on, just to give him a little bit early ball and let him kind of go. I think their progression will continue to come when they hit that beautiful line, Laban and stuff, with his size and strength, if he can cut on a line, which, I don't want to go back. I wax lyrical about Leeson Ah Mau week in, week out, bro. Like, honestly, I'll touch on Lecker too. I've watched, and I'm not going to put this label on him either, right? Because I don't want to put too much, craziness on him. But then again, we all love him. But I watched the debut game. I watched the debut game of Sonny Bill Williams the other day. Just over again. I just watched the review and I was just like, oh my God. And incredible.
That's
like he
good.
played center. He was just fucking dominating, line break central, left, right, and center. And I'm not saying he's Sonny Bill, right? He's not 6'3", and this incredible, he's got an incredible offload and all that to him, but he's not Sonny Bill in that sort of sense. But he's got the same sort of feel to where whenever he touches the football, it's kind of just lights your eyes up. You kind of be like,
Yep.
all right, this kid's just got something special to him. And, as I continue to say, bro, he's got that Jeremiah Nanai skill set, but he's got the aggression to go with it. And he just doesn't care. He really will take it to any contest. And I'm excited for that. But back on Laban, I think the more time, seeing now he's in that 17 jersey, whether he continues to hold that for week in, week out would be good to see. I think Webby's slowly drip feeding these boys into really good experience, not underperforming sides. Now they're starting to go really well, and under Fish and stuff. I think he's kind of doing it in the right way. Vai Mwanga is definitely, as Key said, he's going about his work. He's progressing really well as well. And I think I've been really just happy to see his progression in minutes over time as well. They're starting to get a lot more courage in these boys. 34 minutes for Dimitri. Leka had 69 starting over the weekend, and Laban 27 to end the game there. To start the season, a lot of people were worried about the 18-minute game of Leka and all that. These boys are getting more minutes now, and people should look at that and see how we're drip feeding these boys in, and we're going to see a lot more of them in the future.
We sorry to interrupt. One last comment is a few of the fans, including myself, raised an eyebrow when Zion was let go to the Bulldogs.
Yeah.
Because I thought Zion was basically ahead of Lecker and Dimitri. Depending on sort of who you spoke to, he was there or thereabouts. And now I sound like an idiot. I look like a fool when I say that. Because you see how Lecker and Dimitri are going, and Webby would have seen that Webby would have saw that as well. And I think the comment about the sort of 17 minutes is probably more aptly applied to Zion. He's all sort of powerful runs, but if everyone played 17 minutes, you need 4 players for that one position.
Exactly.
15 interchanges. No, look, you guys got a great point. I want to touch now on the forward pack, and look, coming up against a Carrigan and a Haas, we seem to quell or nullify them. We had energy. Bunty's looking in great form. We've got the young boys, as we said. Are we was it conditions, or was Brisbane off, or are we actually legit? I mean, we're a hard working forward pack. We understand it. What do you guys make of that forward battle? Because I mean, they had their moments, we had ours, but yeah, what do you make of the forward battle? I'll chuck that at you, Ash, maybe just to start off.
Yeah. I think the conditions kind of spoke to it in a way of this game had to be sort of one in the middle. And I'll give it to the Bronco. The Broncos forward pack is probably the best 1-2 punch in the competition, front row of talent wise. These two of Payne Haas and Paddy Carrigan, those guys, and they had incredible moments in the game. I'm pretty sure they both got over the 160 mark. I'll go for the stats just quickly here. Paddy Carrigan got 195 meters in this game, and Payne Haas of 219. But other than that, every other aspect of their forward pack got nullified very well. Even Xavier Willison, the the Broncos trying to start him on an edge to try and catch us out on the edge at that point there too. I thought that we handled him really well. I think the defensive work for like even a guy like Wade Egan to make, you know, Xavier Willison cough up the ball a couple of times in that contest, and you know, Aaron Clark stepping up to the plate, you know, especially in the attacking side of things as well, you know, getting his 160 and 53 post contact. I think it's just like we're a very hard working forward pack. You know, when we have everyone together, like Jackson Ford hasn't put really a foot wrong too much this year. You know, he's had a couple of errors more so in the last couple of games, but I think for a majority of the season so far, he's been really, really good. I wouldn't say that, you know, we dominated or anything the Broncos forward pack, but I think that we nullified, you know, the rest of everything else and did what we could against Payne Haas and Paddy Carrigan and came out with it at the end of the day. So very, very happy how we defended as a unit there. Like Mitch Barnett, every shot that Mitch Barnett put on in that contest was noticeable. Like he really was imposing himself onto the contest saying, boys, like come with me and I'll show you the way. And off the back of that, like Aaron Clark, as I continue to go back onto, like for him to come into that 13 jersey after what we've lost, like, and for him to do what he's doing, I couldn't be more happier, and I couldn't thank the Titans even more for letting us have this man, you know, come back home. When I heard that he was coming back home, I was like, oh, that's just a rumor. See how it goes. But bro, I'm just so happy to have that man in that 13 jersey, and he's really picking up the slack that we lost with Tohu and that. Not so much of Tohu, what he's not becoming Tohu, but he's doing it in his own way, and I'm very, very happy to see it.
Yeah, what did you guys think when we first signed Aaron Clark? We let Jazz go, or the news that we were letting Jazz go. It was a similar time. What were you guys' first impressions of that signing?
I loved it. I knew it wasn't like for like in terms of, you know, Jazz been more of a utility prop, a line, you know, hard running forward, and I knew that Aaron would be more in the middle as a ball playing lock kind of. But I didn't see it to that level. Like, what was my thoughts? I thought he'd be like off the bench, or, you know, we had Walker, we had other options at that time. Thought he was still, but I saw him as a good impact forward. Yeah. What about yourself, Ash?
Yeah, you saw like little moments of this with the Gold Coast Titans, but not to this level. And I never thought the Gold Coast gave him the ability to become a middle forward. They always fiddled around with him playing hooker. They switched around and him coming off the bench and stuff. I think Webby's given him a lot of trust to get out there and go play his game, especially after that first Raiders game where I really feel like we should have just ran him out there in front of the Raiders. And not to say he would have changed the game at all, but it's just showing that, you know, week in, week out, his leadership's really stepped up. Like, I'm probably back onto Levon. Like, when we saw him and Jazz kind of move out, it was kind of like, I was like, we're just going for the younger Jazz, if that makes sense. Like, he gives a lot of what Jazz gives, and I kind of saw him in that sort of sense. I was like, yeah, he'll be good to, you know, fill the void and, you know, continue us on. But to do what he's doing now, he's like doing that and more, and he's taking over. Like, you know, everyone says about when Adam was going to leave us, you know, he was going to take away our post-contact meters. Yeah. He's going to take AFB meters, and he's kind of like helping a little bit of that in that sort of aspects. He's consistently getting 150 to 160 per week at NRL.com stats, and he's at 50 post-contact meters per week as well. You know, that's not Adam Fanor Blake numbers, but that's helping lessen the bleed in that area to where the whole team's lifting. So I didn't expect this, but I'm so happy to see it.
Yeah, me too. I think one of our listeners, Jared, says that Aaron Clark is just one of the best signings of the year. I did not expect that. And he has. He has been. Jared's right. Agreed. Like, I did not expect this level of energy, ball playing skills, post-contact meters. He's surprised me in a very pleasant way.
Yeah, no, you bang on. Yep.
Off the back of that, like, we've seen him in a Kiwis jersey, but we've never seen this level out of him in a Kiwis jersey. You know, he's been to that level before. You know, he's just, I don't know I think he's just really come home. He's felt at home. I think, you know, Webby's given him a lot of love and been like, hey, this is what I need you to do. Go out and do it. And he's just continued to grow at his game. And I think it's not just good for the Warriors, but for the New Zealand Kiwis at the end of the year. Like, they're going to benefit off having Aaron Clark back into that jersey. He's going to make that uptick in that area. And as an Australian boy, I'm definitely going to be scared to see how that Kiwi squad's going to look at the end of the year, even though we don't play you guys. So lucky we're playing over in England, so we'll stay over there, and you guys stay over there, right?
Look, we'll save some. we're going to talk some international footy, especially with my man Keith at the end of this, well, towards the end of this stream. So hang in for that. We'll get into the Ashes. I can't wait to talk about that because it's exciting. But let's just track now, guys, into the team list that's just come out. We'll keep the ball rolling. Look, Berry and CNK are back, which is great. Great for, I think, Berry. Had a tough game against Melbourne. It wasn't ideal. And I think he looked a bit gassed. And I'm hoping he's going to find his legs a little bit more. CNK obviously back. I think yardage-wise, we're doing really well. I've got to give a big shout out to Kossi as well. I watched back the tape. Wasn't making massive yardage, but he was like drawing 3 guys in, and each hit up. So there's benefits to that, but I think obviously CNK with that direction, a little bit of leadership as well coming back. How do you boys feel about the team lineup for this week, especially against the Knights and like an Anzac game? I feel like we were on a bit of a high last Anzac game against the Titans. I can't remember, but we don't want to. I don't want to get hyped up because I usually do this.
I think everyone listening, including me and Ash, know Anzac Day gives chills down the spine of every Warriors fan.
And we thought
I
really hope we get this one over the line, but we thought we'd bring it back home.
If we don't beat Newcastle, I'm not even going to go there right now.
Yeah, 100%.
No, but Keith, what do you make of the team lineup? I mean, apart from Berry and CNK. Laban obviously is in there. Ford's replaced obviously Fish. You think that's good to stay consistent and expecting us to kind of have a consistent performance in Christchurch?
Yeah, I think it's as good as the lineup is going to get. It's a good lineup as well. The bench should be interesting. All forwards for now. I don't want to be too harsh on Tamare, but I literally did not notice when he was on the field. I think he had 4 carries. I thought, if this is your first shot of the year and you got your 25 minutes or whatever, yeah, there we go. Mackie. Exactly. I was about to get to that. I wouldn't be surprised to see Tanner Boyd subbed in there as a 14-style player. I think watching New South Wales Cup games, I think he wouldn't play 14. I think we'll see Chanel go to 9 again and Tanner play 6, which would be weird because you don't really want to move Metcalfe, or you don't want to make 2 shuffles whilst you're live out on the field. But anyway, I think it's a really good team. I like the fact that we're able to move Pompey. Pompey, and rightly so, to be honest, had a pretty dodgy reputation amongst the fans a few years ago, and he's really come good. He's worked so hard at every aspect of his game. In hindsight, we've probably been expecting a little too much from Pompey in attack in terms of just looking at his size and what we sort of think that he was capable of. But he is rock solid in defence. He made a few mistakes on the weekend. Yeah, it's wet weather football, so we'll just move on from that. But we've recognised that Pompey is, even, I guess, out of position, is better than Ed Kossi being out there. And Ed Kossi's also worked hard at his game, but it's just too unreliable still. Yeah, hopefully he'll do a Pompey and become more and more reliable. So the fact that we can include Rocco, Pompey and Leatua, even though they all started the year as like, which centres do we choose? That's really good. I don't want to sort of distract anyone anymore, but I just need – I wonder where Tane Tuapiki goes when we have a full-strength squad, but we won't delve into that. We'll stick to this team. I like this team. I think it's a team that can play the long game with Newcastle because they look – hopeless.
Yeah,
Newcastle. That is not us.
Actually, just quickly on Tane. For you, Keith, Tane, what does he bring that making you think that? Do you think he can fit in the fullback spot as a long-term option, or do you think he's just not? He's maybe too small or is not quite there to match the physicality. I mean, there was one tackle I saw him get dumped on his back, and he looked like he wasn't going to get up, and I was like, whoa, they're kind of. I had a thought of like, well, it's so fragile sometimes with some of these smaller guys. But what is it for you? Do you think he's ready to take that next step?
Yeah, initially I started the year, and I'm adding up all my mistakes here and admitting them to the listeners here. I started the year with Tane being my preferred fullback choice. I just thought that the loss of SJ meant that our spine was just, would have nothing in attack. So if you're going to name, with all due respect to Roger, who's 30, 31, however old he is, DWZ, same age, Chance, same age. We're coming up against clubs who have absolute speed in the outside backs, from kids in their early 20s or mid 20s, etc. So I think that we needed to inject some youth and some flair into our backline. And the loss of SJ meant that we needed a proper ball-playing fullback, and I saw Tane as that style of fullback. In my mind, he's our version of Keanu Kinney. I don't think he's that light. He doesn't seem fragile like, Sam Tompkins or... even Ryan Pappenhausen, in terms of being that wiry light frame. He seems to be a little bit stockier than those guys. It's just every time he gets the ball, he sparks something. But the way that Chance has been playing, I'll admit right now, I got it wrong. But I still think we somehow in our best 17, don't ask me how, need Tane in there. He's something special in my mind.
It's a great point. It's absolutely a good point. Ash, what's your thoughts on the team that we've got here? Is it on paper looking like we're looking pretty solid against the Knights side? We'll get into combined 17 soon, but you're pretty happy with that squad? It looks like it's starting to select itself a bit with injuries. We're starting to see the pecking order with Laban coming in. I mean, you could talk about the Tamaida, Tane and Boyd kind of argument. What if you do go with a utility kind of back or whatever, you have options there, but are you pretty happy with that squad?
Yeah, pretty happy overall. Kind of as Keith kind of discussed as well, there's all the names that should be there in my opinion. Obviously good to see Rocco and Ali back together in the centers. Obviously, Tane, I've really enjoyed Tane's game in that fullback jersey, and my prediction obviously was Tane maybe to take over towards the mid to late this season, or he's going to start taking those jumps, whether it did become a wing to fullback sort of opportunity this week, to where maybe we could see a little bit of that. I was kind of thinking that maybe if Webby was going to go down that route, could have been time, but as Keith said, I think Chance has been really, really underrated this season overall, especially just work rate out of the back end. And we kind of did need that, especially losing Roger and Dallin. When our back line of Adam Pompey, who gets through a decent amount of meters out of the back end, but he's not out of this world, what we get out of Roger and that. And Tane does his great work out of it, especially due to his size respectively. But we know what Chance is going to give us. Chance is going to give us that third tackle run that's going to get us into really good momentum, play at the back of Wade Egan, which is the way we play our football at the moment. And I think he's doing a really good job. It's good to see him back in that fullback jersey. But I do think it will come time where Tane will end up taking over, because I kind of do agree with Keith in a way of I think when we get into attacking yardage, I'm starting to look at Tane being a little bit more of a threat, because he can play on both sides of the ruck. He loves to play on that sweep on both sides. We saw it over the weekend. He didn't only just pop up on the right side. He had that really beautiful sweep late on the left, almost getting outside of Katoni Staggs on that play. It was a really big moment. The whole crowd jumped up. It was oh my God, it could have been another try there if he got on the outside there. But I think that will come in time. But at the moment, CNK obviously being the more experienced option, and what we need with yardage getting out of the back end, I think he brings that in spades too. So really happy with the side overall. Good to see Jacob Laban hold that spot just for the moment. I'm with Keith and everyone else probably expecting maybe a late change in this one for someone to fill in, just because Wade Egan, as we discussed, Webby said in the press conference, it's probably not realistic to have Wade Egan 80 minutes week in, week out. So probably having a guy to give him a little bit of a spell. So we'll have to wait and see if this week would be, last week was Tamaida, this week maybe is it Tanner. It could be a little bit of that. Maybe he's trying to poke in, because obviously Tamaida came in on that 6 jersey last week. He came in that 6 side. Does Tanner get that little taste of the 6 this week? And does he take his opportunity with both hands? Does that open up the opportunity of seeing CHT go to that 14? I don't know if that was a first little taste of maybe Webby going, all right, this is your opportunity, Tamaida. You killed it in cup. Show us what you got for 25 and see if you can kill it. He didn't really take it with both hands. Now it's Tanner Boyd's time. All right, take it with both hands, see if you can do it. If not, CHT still has 6 options. So I think this maybe it could be that. I'm not too sure. I'm just throwing stuff in the air. But
The
very happy
more-
with the side at the moment.
The more I'm thinking about it, they should actually give Tanner a crack. Because if you have any backline issues, say if CNK goes down, you got Tane that can drop back. You actually got Lecker that could drop into centre. I mean, we saw what he did last year. I mean, you've got options there too. So,
Capewell as well.
Capewell, there's not a bad shout to actually have a look at Tanner this weekend.
Yeah, well,
As
Graham
far as-
Arnold's the Australian national soccer coach, or was. And they asked him, because Graham Arnold watches a lot of NRL. Of all the NRL players, who's got the best kicking, from a soccer coach's point of view? He said Tanner Boyd.
Wow. That's crazy.
That's
He was doing that podcast, He's the guy that did that podcast. I saw some reels or TikToks, and he was talking about working with NRL players. Ex-Socceroos coach,
Yeah.
That's
To
crazy.
the World Cup. Tanner Boyd, best kicking technique and the power of the kick, the placement of the kick, the technique of the kick. It was Tanner Boyd, according to the ex-Socceroos coach.
That's where see a game against the Broncos, we could have benefited from his kicking game because he could have just pinned them down the end more and more. I mean, there was that
He's
one
goal
kick
kicking as well.
Oh yeah, sorry.
We're talking game against the Broncos.
Oh, sorry, yeah. Goal kicking too. But even having, because I remember Tamaida came on, and they positioned the way they positioned the fifth tackle. Luke actually had to kick to the left side, and it kind of went 7 tackle set, and then they kind of built back into the game off that, I think. But I mean, if you're dominating a game or doing quite well, it might be good to have a Tanner there and bring him on, and then, use that skill set. Yeah,
especially against Newcastle, who will hang themselves, hopefully, basically. If you just kick to the corners and just stick in there, they'll probably hang themselves. And Tanner Boyd is perfect for that.
Yeah.
And so, for me, this is coming from a guy with Tanner coming over, I wasn't too hyped to the signing overall. I thought, I worry about signings of ex-halves or, players that are in those big positions that have kind of been burnt from the club's development, from the past development of the Titans. Titans put a lot of time into putting him into a number 9 jersey, which didn't really suit him, then put him back to a 6, put him to a 7. The only time he really worked out was outside of Dave Fafita. And he always had really good aspects to his game, but I was really worried about, was he the next Ash Taylor, to where he got burnt by that system and he was just unable to really, step up to the level we kind of want him to be. But watching him in a cup, week in, week out, seeing maybe him embedding himself into the system that we have over here, and seeing just with that cup side, when we didn't have Tanner there and we had Tamaida run that cup side, we just didn't have that much direction. It looked like, it was just a little bit all over the place. Where Tanner obviously stepping into that 7 jersey, the boys just got back into the swing of things again. He looks like he's settled in. He's found his voice. When we talk about this too, I do want to always point out, the halves that we got there now, I'm happy with them at the moment. I am still happy with them. I don't think it's going to be this major magical piece of putting Tanner Boyd in and we're just going to click into gear incredibly. I really don't see that just yet. But I also I'd like the aspect of it if Webby this week, instead of running Tamaida in that 14 type of look, that utility jersey, run Tanner, give him 25 at the end of the game, just see what he looks like out there. If it is like that, put him in that 6 jersey outside of Metcalfe and take him more of the reins and see if he does prove himself. If he steps up into that area, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he can be the big change everyone says he is. But at the moment, I'm still in the area of he's really good halfback. But I'm happy with the halves that we got right now due to long-term success, where Tanner could out up there and leave out of nowhere, right? I still have that feeling that Tanner could easily just be I love it in the Gold Coast or back in Queensland. If any of the Queensland clubs come home, he'll come home to me. Where I feel that's pretty settled.
Yeah, my last comment on that, I couldn't agree more. Gold Coast Titans burned the Australian schoolboy halves. How many Australian schoolboy halves does one club need? And they haven't made the most of them. You had Tanner Boyd, Toby Sexton, Tom Weaver, Keanu Kinney surprisingly played, says here according to ChatGPT, so take it with a grain of salt, was selected for the Australian Schoolboys in 2022 and has played halves. Right?
They got another one too. They got another one too, Zane Harrison, who's an incredible player as well. So they're looking at him as the next premiership halfback they've got.
Is it Desi burning these guys? I don't
No,
know
because you know how hard it is to be chosen in the halves for the Australian schoolboys? Think of all
crazy.
the Australian NRL clubs and their development systems, and you're their halfback or 5'8". And Gold Coast Titans, because of Kebra Park High primarily, have had so many of them, and they're not developing them. So Tanner Boyd's is just a symptom of that. So his ceiling is actually quite high. Yeah. And it's not surprising it hasn't worked with the Gold Coast Titans. Will it work here? Yeah. Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell chuck us quickly back on that, Tanner. Which team could he go into right now and do a starting half spot?
Parramatta.
Well, Moses is...
Assuming Gillard Brown goes to Newcastle.
I'm just trying to think of the teams he could fit in. Well, maybe he could go to Tigers right now.
Well, West Tigers.
Yeah.
Yeah, possibly. Push Luai back to the 6, possibly.
No, the Dragons is the obvious one in my mind.
Newcastle, they've been switching halves left, right, and centre. You know, we're coming up against the Newcastle side that have they changed their half again this week? Let me check. They haven't. Well, they won't gamble again, but there's another one.
Well, I mean, he did have that kind of cryptic Instagram. I mean, we've seen guys, you know, people are leaving mid-season anyway. It can happen. As Webby, do you kind of need to get this guy in? Is it kind of, do we need to get him in the squad?
Yes. I thought about this, right? Tamari and Tanner and Chanel and Luke cannot all be on our books next year. It's fine this year because, you know, Jet Cleary is still really young. I think he's only 19 years old or whatever. But and then same with Luke Walsh. These kids that we've put a lot of faith in to come through our ranks instead of Penrith's ranks for those two in particular, those grades get aged out. So they will have no choice but to play New South Wales Cup, and they need to be playing in the halfback position. And if they're not able to be selected at 7 and 6, particularly Jet Cleary, of course, because Damare and Tanner Boyd are playing there, because Metcalfe and Chanel are out, NRL halves, etc. You're going to stunt the growth of Jet Cleary. So one of them would need to go. And
we got Jyla Nane coming over too.
Jyla Nane's coming
as well. He's injury-wise, but also I'm
pretty adamant Tamoida's going. I don't think he's going to hang around.
Yeah. Well, he hasn't shown. I really like Tamari. In fact, weird comment, but I think we hold the trophy for the best looking halves in NRL history when SJ and Tamari went.
SJ, the three of them?
A couple of amazing looking roosters there. But Tamari's had a fair few opportunities. And apart from that period, that golden period where SJ was out and, you know, he really shone, he hasn't grabbed them with both hands in my mind. He looked better at fullback in the preseason trial than in the half.
I was big on that too as a fullback option, No, that's fair enough. I think you're bang on. Like, we could probably see next year either Hansen and Tamaida gone with obviously Jet. Sorry, not Hansen, was it? Tamaida and Boyd gone. Potentially, you could. Because they're not going to hang around. Then you got Hansen, you got this Lanane guy. You got Jet Cleary, who's probably want to come up. Yeah, it's just selling you that we're holding too many.
Still got
right now.
Jack Thompson, stuff like that. But also, last I do want to point out, you know, we said about obviously Tanner Boyd, Australian schoolboy, number 7 and stuff like that. You know, shout out to Luke Metcalfe too, coming through the grade. He was a New South Wales Blues number 7 coming through schoolboys and stuff. So it wasn't. It's kind of like obviously he's gone through the period of becoming a 6, becoming a fullback in Newtown, and then going through that period. But, you know, he has shown a little bit of ability where he came through the grade as a 7. So, you know, as we touched on before, when we're looking at all these boys, I'm happy with the halves we've got now. I don't think it's a magical fix having Tanner there. I do think Tanner brings obviously a lot of good strengths. But it's like, it would be nice to see if he does step up to the play, if that does become a thing. But to where does everyone saying that he's going to be the amazing fix that everyone's thinking he could be, those things take time. And I think that we've made the right option of what we've got there now. But if Tane does step up and take it with both hands, then I'll be happy to see it as well. So I'll be happy to be proved wrong at that point. But I think all the boys are doing a decent job of what they are right now.
So actually, I've got a last question on the halves for Keith. Do you believe in this philosophy that we should give? So I've said give Metcalfe and CHT till mid-season. I've had other people talk to me about giving them a full 2 years because in our history we've always chopped and changed halves. I mean, SJ was riddled with 5/8s that he could never really settle on. Do you believe in that model of like once you kind of pick and stick for a long period of time, or do you think that? Yeah, what's your thoughts on that kind of?
I think half season is the right amount of time. It's what if it's not working after half a season, build cohesion wise, then surely that's long enough. The NRL is not a finishing school. Okay, there's plenty of other grades for that, and the only sort of devil's advocate to myself there would be that cohesion takes time to build, even in the workplace outside of footy. Even you go work in an office, you get to know how your team works, the personalities and stuff like that, what makes them gel, especially if you're a manager. So half a season is plenty of time to do it, but 2 years is way too long because, as I said, the NRL is not a finishing school.
Yeah, great. Well, I want to quote that. NRL is not a finishing school. I love that. I love it. I have that kid. I'm going to use it. One. Thanks for that.
Buzz up TV.
No problem. You can take it.
That's beautiful, Keith. Great point there. Okay, let's do combined 17 because I got some international footy to get to at the end of this lovely thing. So, Keith, I don't know if you've seen us do combined 17, but
I have.
Perfect. Okay, you know what's happening. I'll let you and Ash decide, and I'll go to the chat as if we need a tiebreaker. Hopefully, it's a quick one.
Really good comments in the chat. Your audience is spot on with almost all the comments that have been made, I must say.
They got good discussion, bro.
They're good people. They're good people in here. A lot of people have been asking who you are. Guys, get used to this, man. This Keith, you should know this guy.
That's okay. I'm nobody. It doesn't matter.
No.
No, he's not. But I think our audience is new to you. But yeah, he has his own podcast. Guys, anyway, get used to our brother.
Make sure you jump over. Yeah.
Maybe jump to
I'm mostly just the international rugby league, so it's a pretty niche area of the sport.
Yeah, but yeah, we're definitely gonna get to that. Hey, 136 in here, please. Can we hit that like, subscribe if you're new? Just hit that like button, guys, for the algorithm. Okay, let's do combined 17 now. Warriors versus Knights. Let me get this up. Okay, here we go. Okay, guys, we're starting off at fullback. Sorry, I always got to do this left wing. Sorry. And then fullback. So left wing, we have who's that? Pompey versus
Greg Marju.
What do you got? What do you guys got?
Pompey. He's more reliable in defence. He's a bit more sinewy, if I may use that word to describe the physique. Marzu is a B-grade Manu Vatuvai to me. He showed potential with a few ball-licking runs, but he doesn't have a lot of depth beyond that to his game, in my opinion.
Wow. After blocks, what have you got for that, Ash?
I'm going to make it hard to you, Yvonne. I'm on the Gregosaurus train, brother. I'm on the Greg Marju train. I think Pompey's incredible, right? I agree with you defensively. Greg Marju gets himself caught in no man's land, and the Manu Vatuvai B as really a Timu Manu is probably a really good one to put on him, right?
Wasn't that Bill Tupu, by the way? Manu Vatuvai.
Yeah, Bill.
Don't you remind me.
I love Billy. He was fantastic.
Shout to him, Rugby League Live too. But yeah, no, I go and Greggy, like any guy that can bust out like close to 20 tackle breaks in a game, on the attacking end, he's just that big juggernaut. Obviously, he can have his off nights and his rocks and diamonds, right? Bumpy's a little bit more of the consistent player, the plug and play, a guy, week in, week out. But as a winger, an out-and-out winger, I just love the yardage carries of Greg Marju out of his backhand. But you're probably going for a little bit better defensively with Adam Bumpy, for sure, because Greg Marju gets himself caught in no man's land, to probably the attacking juggernaut that's going to give you like 200 of the best in the backhand and maybe 3 errors. So what are you looking at there, Levon?
Chat's saying Marju, but I actually love Keith coming out the blocks with Pompey. I was not expecting
No,
that.
go Marju. The chat saying Marju and Ash is saying Marju. You got some good points. I'm not beholden to that one. I'm
No.
not passionate about it.
I love the love
Watch
for
it this
Pompey
weekend.
because we
5
always,
errors.
if you notice us, we always go, if it's like Pompey versus Saab or Pompey, we go on our Pompey, but we're taking the piss out of him, really. But I was like legit support. I never seen that before. I absolutely love it.
It was good to see.
It was great to see. Love to our man Pompey. We love him. We've always loved Pompey. Okay, now we're gonna go fullback. Ponga versus Clockstad.
Oh.
Keithy. Keithy.
Is Ponga the best fullback in the game? That's the real question. And the fact that we're asking that question is the answer. Maybe he's not, but the fact that he's in the contention, he actually might be the best fullback in the game right now. So, hands down. That's an easy one.
Yeah, I'm going more than likely the Queensland fullback for this year, Kalen Ponga. Shout out to Chance. We all know what he can bring, but KP is just that. He's a top 3 fullback in the game, and that's heavily disputed whether he's number 1, 2, or 3, right? So, I don't think Chance has been in that discussion
recently, so we should be able to get him. Hopefully.
Yeah, that is the rumor. But yeah, that's all gone quiet, right?
Okay, let's just. Do you think he's going to fire this weekend, Ponga? Are we feeling something like?
Is that
He's gonna
Kiwi
get cat bounce?
connection?
I'm a little bit worried, but not too. But I just, I don't know. Something in the back of the head says that he might start to fire a little bit this week. Anyway, okay, we'll move on to right wing. Tane Tuopiki versus James Schiller. Okay, I don't know Schiller very well.
I don't know him at all.
Okay, we'll go with Ash on this one.
Good player, shows a lot of potential. Came from the Raiders, really good tackle breaker. Only just stepped up from Cup really to fill in a role. Tane Tuopiki for me is the better player overall. Obviously you can argue a winger, this and that, but I think even Tane's role as a winger has been better than James Schiller this year. So I'm going Tane Tuopiki. But shout out to Schiller. You'll see him this weekend. Hard runner, good consistent player. But Tane's just got that little extra spark, that pizzazz that can change your game.
Okay.
Yep. Hard to argue with.
Okay, now let's go to the left centre. Now, I think obviously Rocco played right against Mel, so I'm imagining Leatoa goes to left.
Yeah.
Leatoa versus is that
Bradman
Bradman?
Best. That's so
you
tough.
have to go Bradman. You have to go Bradman.
Yeah,
Just for the calf tattoo alone.
That's a tough man, that is.
No, he's a more mature player at this level.
He is.
Yep. That's a great point.
Bias, maybe Ali has a ceiling that is equal or bigger than Bradman Best, but we're too early in his career to be able to call that. So at this moment in time, Bradman Best is a pretty clear winner.
I'm right there on Keith. I think that maybe in the future we can see Ali probably overcome that level. I think that he's got the potential to for sure. Brady at the moment, being a representative player that he is, obviously he made the Australian squad, Blues squad last year. Real solid player. And that, he's 100% right. That shin tat, whoo, sexy.
Straight out of Bali.
I'm going to Bali right now.
Okay, let's go over to Berry versus Gagai. Some saying in here Gagai wins this one. The veteran. I mean, Rocco's still coming back. What do you guys say?
Ash, you can take that grenade. That's a difficult one.
It is tough. It is tough. I'm probably going to sway to more of the experience. And I even coming off of last year, I think Dane had one of his better years last year, which obviously makes this even tougher. This year, the Newcastle Knights just really aren't firing, but I won't hold him to that just for now because we're 7 rounds in just yet. So I'm going to go Dane Gagai just on the experience. He's been to the representative level. I still think he's a really great centre in that position. I just don't think the Newcastle Knights are using him to his advantage this year. Rocco is incredible, and I love Rocco to death, but he's still so early in his career in that aspect of consistently. Yeah, you're making me tough. The more I think about it, the more I think Rocco really holds a candle to this argument, right? But I'm going to go Dane. I'm going to stick with Dane. I think the attacking potential he's got there is a little bit higher than Rocco right now. But I think Rocco can touch that in the future. So go on, Dane.
Mm. Yeah, I have no real strong objections to defense sitting on this one. I will go probably Dane, but Dane Gagai has a bit of, he was a bit before my time, but Wally Lewis in the fact that he tends to just be amazing at state of origin level and disappears at club level.
That's a good one.
Dane Gagai's career is on the decline, which is a really obvious thing to say, and Rocco's is on the incline. It's just a matter of whether or not they've met in this graph. And maybe ask again next year if they're both coming up against each other, and I will for sure say Rocco. But 51-49 sort of go with Dane. Not really controversial. They're very closely matched, though.
100%.
Yeah. No, that's on paper looking like a pretty good back five for them.
Gone Newcastle a lot, haven't we?
Yeah. Hey, we're not biased
would have
here,
been
man.
nice.
Pompey would have been they might get Pompey back in there. Okay, let's go to the halves now. This is Chanel Harris DeVita versus Fletcher Sharp.
Do you know what?
Yeah.
I actually think this is probably the first time this year where I think our halves pairing beats out the halves that we've got against this year. I think it's probably the closest test to say that. I think Fletcher to start the year looked like he was going to be this boom six that, like, if Adam O'Brien was going to play the way that they played in trials, or if they end up, getting themselves on the right foot, he was going to be this boom six. But at the moment, he's now regressed a little bit. He's struggling to find his spot. He's having moments, which is good to see. But Chanel's been the more consistent six, I believe, this year, especially on the defensive side of things. So I'm going Chanel there. What are you thinking there, Keith? Are you kind of on the same wavelength as me?
Yeah, definitely, particularly around the part where, even if Fletcher Sharp started the season with a clear goal or a clear vision of what his role in the team was and what he needs to focus on, etc., I think he's somewhat lost his identity a little bit. And I think Chanel knows exactly what Chanel's in the side to do. So certainty provides consistency more often than not. So for that reason, I'm going with Chanel. And just right now, Chanel's a better platter.
Yeah,
I mean, the chat is lighting up with Sharp. He must have some attributes that are quite good. Is he kind of? Yeah. Okay. Yep.
He's very much he's a really great fullback coming through the grade. Played a little bit of 7, I think in Harold Matts and stuff coming through the grade as well. A lot of speed. He's got a beautiful turn on him. Like, he's just got a beautiful gait, like running gait. I think he's a really strong player for the future. He's still so young. He reminds me a little bit of Ryan Papenhausen a little bit. Got a little bit of a skill set, but I think Newcastle, Adam O'Brien hasn't really done wonders with the halves since he's been at Newcastle. Since probably Mitchell Pearce, right? So this seems to be another casualty in that area, which sucks to see because he's got a lot of talent. Maybe in time he'll grow up into be that 6, but when Dylan Brown comes over, that's just another guy to put in a scrap heap, which I think sucks to hear, but we'll have to wait and see how that goes.
Well, he doesn't have a scorpion kick, so Chanel.
Yeah, well, yeah. I love that.
Okay, this one, Metcalfe Gamble. I think we're going Metcalfe. Should we...
I'm going Metcalfe. Yeah, Metcalfe's got definitely the highest ceiling in all areas. And Brody, my co-host on my Wednesday show on my channel, he actually played against Tyson Gamble coming through the grade. They were both the halfbacks for Redcliffe Dolphins in the junior grades coming through. And Gamble showed a lot of ability, but we couldn't believe when he got his first taste in Brisbane. We're like, oh my god, like he's that good, like in that area. And he showed he's a good effort player. He'll fight for every minute. He's got a decent boot to him, but other than that, I think Luke Metcalfe is just the superior player overall.
Yeah,
politics.
I think Metcalfe's more of a leader, or at least trying to be.
I agree with that. That's a great point, Keith. Leadership, like when you see Metcalfe, he is trying to lead. I feel in his own way, which is actually quite something we should keep an eye out on how that develops.
100%.
Okay, let's go now to the prop position. So let's go for out of the 4: Jackson Ford, Tyson Frizzell, Mitch Barnett, Leo Thompson. that's a good little. I mean, I think Jackson drops out, but
Say them again.
Jackson Ford, Tyson Frizzell, Mitch Barnett, Leo Thompson.
I think
Barney
the
versus
two
Leo is
from
an intriguing one.
yeah, that's the big one. Like for me, if I was to grab a two out of those four, it'd be Mitch Barnett and Leo Thompson.
Okay.
It sucks to leave Tyson Frizzell out because I love Tice. I like him more as a 13 or an edge. Put him in a front row battle. I think Mitch Barnett covers him. And Leo is probably the next cab where I look at and go, yeah, he's got a little bit more potential at the moment because Tyson's more so toward the end of his career.
Yeah, couldn't agree more.
Agree with it. Okay, I'll chuck Barnett in now. Now I need you guys for the lock position. We have just quickly Aaron Clark versus Matt Croker.
What do you reckon, Keithy boy?
Aaron Clark, then Daylight, then Croker.
Agreed. Very much agreed. Very much agreed.
Okay, there we go. That's our
bit more Warriors there now, which is good to see.
Yep. Okay, let's go into the hooker now. Egan versus Phoenix. The Kiwi, both Kiwi hookers. Just kidding.
Everyone loves this.
I think it's easy, right?
It's an easy one. I think Wade Egan, I don't care how biased I am, should be the first chosen for the New South Wales number 9. Like his deception at the ruck. Appy's his only threat for that. But the deception at the ruck, the fact is that you often see Phoenix Crossland sort of pick the ball up slightly a little bit, where you see Wade Egan pass it directly from the ground a lot more. Yep. The fact that we sat through about 18 months there watching Wade Egan sort of try and pass whilst looking at that, and it goes forward or he drops it, but now he's actually mastered it. It's actually an amazing way to feed the ball as a distributor. So I just think his game is a hell of a lot more advanced as a genuine hooker, and it's probably years ahead of Phoenix Crossland in the hooker role. Totally agree.
I echo all those sentiments. I think he's been so strong for us this year, especially defensively. He's putting his head in all the right places, and as I said, he had put that big hit on Xavier Willison where caused him to spill the ball. If that was Wade Egan maybe a couple of years ago, that head's getting caught in the wrong position. He's off for another 2 weeks of his year. So good to see that he's still out in the field playing decent minutes out there, and he's a big vital piece to our side right now.
Yeah, can't wait to have him at the Kiwis as well. Looking forward to that. Was it 5-year residency rule?
Hey, just on the number 9 for New South Wales, like who's the realistic other choices? Is Appy or Egan? Like Reece Robson, wasn't he playing like reserve grade or something earlier in the year, or at least maybe he's injured or something? But
Madge loves that bigger hooker though. But now that Madge is gone, you're probably looking at Daly and thinking who.
I think the only other guy that's going to push it would be Connor Watson.
Connor Watson, yeah.
Would be the only guy that I can see that's going to push it really hard. So it'd be either Connor Watson or Reece Robson with Wade Egan in the mix. I don't know. Appy Coruscant, since Madge jumped in, seems to jump down the pecking order now a little bit. But I think he's been in decent form as well. But I'm right with you. I think Wade Egan's in good enough form to be put into Blues. I just hope they don't do that because we want him as a Warrior and not as a New South Wales Blue, as a Queenslander.
Okay, let's go now to left edge. Capewell versus, was it Kai Pierce or Pierre Pauls? Kai Pierce Paul.
Dylan Lucas, my brother.
Dylan Lucas.
Yeah.
Okay, so Dylan Lucas versus Capewell. What do you guys got?
Yeah, this one
Surely.
for me, I'm going Dylan Lucas.
Okay, chat, fill it up.
I'm very high on Dylan Lucas. I love him as a player. He played Prime Minister's 13 last year, had an incredible game. He's been probably one of the better pieces for Newcastle. He's been injured to start the season, had his first 2 games. Shout out to Supercoach as well. Absolutely banged it for the first 2 games as well. Been waiting for that price rise, and now you can get him back in for Supercoach. He's definitely a threat we need to watch this weekend. Runs an incredible line. He's got a lot of potential. So I would just have him over Capewell right now. I think it's only just because I think Capewell's in some decent form at the moment. But I've got Dylan Lucas right now.
Let's go with your pick because you know more about Lucas than I do, and I think would know the same about Capewell.
Yeah.
I'm really high on Capewell. I think he's all heart. He's basically a forwards version of Chance for me.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
But no objections to Lucas.
How many more years, Keith, has Capewell got? One more year after this, eh?
Yeah, one more after this. Then he's sort of 32, 33.
Do you think he rides it out and holds the starting spot, or does he kind of drop out to the bench? And
I think he rides it out. Oh, it's hard to say. You can't predict the future. That's what economists say anyway.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Can't predict it.
Let's go now to the right edge. Marata Newquarter versus Kai Pearce-Paul.
Kai Pearce-Paul for me.
Yeah, this is a tough. I think Pearce-Paul is really, really. He's got a high potential. Beautiful offload on him if AOB allows him to use it. Really strong, big body edge back rower. Marata Newquarter at the moment just still's kind of like he does a job out there for us. But Kai Pearce-Paul, if we were to have him, obviously he just brings this like little added spark, as we kind of touched on with Tane, Peaky, stuff like that. This guy's got that, but in an edge back rower sort of body. So I'm going Kai Pearce-Paul as well.
If Kai Pearce-Paul was at a better club with better systems in terms of the style of play and development, you'd see how special this guy is. I looked at him in the Super League, the physique. It's not fair to continue to label. He was labelled sort of the next Sonny Bill Williams, etc. because the physique was quite similar. The ceiling for this guy is huge. I'm very high on him. I don't think he can reach his potential at Newcastle, to tell the truth. Nah. There's been whispers that, he doesn't mind changing clubs, but, Newcastle took the punt on him in the first place, but hopefully they do him right and develop him properly because this guy could be anything. I think to steal Guru's line there.
Yeah, he's got a good skill set because he's one of those edge back rollers can play centre as well. Like he's done that coming through the grade over in Super League in England as well. But I agree. If he was at a different club that kind of used him to his full ability, I think people would be like all over Kai Pearce-Paul and saying he's the next best thing coming through grade at the moment. So, in first grade. So, very talented player.
Just off topic, what happened to the other
Will Price?
Yeah.
Yeah, he returned back home.
At a sold out, not Craven Park, whatever Hull Stadium is called at Derby. Also, I think Super League just had their largest attended round of regular season football in history at the same time the NRL did, which is pretty uncanny. But he has proved the difference for Hull FC in this short period of time there. So that tells me once again, maybe Newcastle isn't the right place to develop this.
Yeah, it does.
At least the backs that are coming over. Actually, Kai Pearce-Paul's forward. But
look, I'm looking at the squad here, and look, they win the back row spots. They win a prop position. The back five is majority Newcastle. You probably got to say the halves are just not delivering, or they just isn't creating for the strike that they have. I'm just the combined 17 we're making up now. It's quite surprising.
Yeah, you gotta treat Newcastle's spine very differently to anyone else. Obviously at the start of tonight, we spoke about the fact that our attack primarily goes through Egan, whereas most other teams go through the 6 and 7. Not to say ours doesn't go through the 6 and 7, but Egan plays a really prominent role in our attack. Newcastle's spine is almost solely designed like under sixes, just get the ball to the good guy. So, the halves don't... Basically, that's the game plan. Get it to Kalen.
Yeah, it's too obvious. Way too obvious.
It really is. Unfortunately, AOB's just struggled in that area. And then, his problem is he goes, well, I don't know why it's not working, so let me put another half in there. And I feel like his two best halves right now aren't even playing in that halfback jersey. He's got Jack Cogger and fucking Jackson Hastings there. He had one period he tried Will Price. still can't believe, like, Jack Cogger for that period, and obviously Penrith's system's incredible, right? And what he did in that grand final, but he would have took a lot from that and came back, very similar to what Sean O'Sullivan did for the Dolphins in that period. And Sean O'Sullivan was incredible for the Dolphins when he jumped over. But for some reason, Cogger wasn't good enough, and they've just put in Tyson Gamble, which was their preferred half to start the season as well. So I've lost all answers to whatever happens at Newcastle, and I'm just kind of like, they may turn up this weekend and prove me wrong, but at the moment, I don't know with them.
Yeah, very, very brief tangent here, but why would you fall for buying Penrith's reserve backup half? Of course, they look amazing. Sean O'Sullivan looked like a world beater at Penrith. And then he went to the Dolphins, and we expect, this guy's actually really good. You should send him with Penrith. No, just like in the amazing system. It's like buying a Melbourne Storm player. Like the chances of getting better after they leave Melbourne is pretty slim. Same thing happened with Jack Cogger. Like, when are they going to learn? There's system players, and there's very few tide risers there. Roger was a tide riser when he came here. There are tide risers out there, but like, with all due respect to Ice Papali'i, he played extremely well at Parramatta because he had probably a couple of things that he just needed to focus on, and that was his own game. He was told which lines to run, and he was amazing at Parramatta. But you move to the West Tigers, you're not going to be the tide riser like Jerome Luai was, and maybe he can reclaim that Parramatta form at Penrith. But we certainly didn't see it at the Warriors. No one was crying out, "Why'd you let Papali'i go?" Like we were crying out when Katoa left.
Yeah.
Yep. Bang on.
Exactly right, bro.
Bang on there. Oh, the good old days. We're 30 years into this, Keith. I just
T Mackie, Cogger is Dane Nielsen. We fell for that as well.
Oh, Dane Nielsen Hoffman. Who else do we have?
It's true.
I gotta be fair to Capewell. I was saying it was another Hoffman, but no, Capewell's actually done a lot better than what Hoffman.
He's good because think about it. He won a premiership at the Sharks. He moved to the Panthers, and obviously we just spoke about the amazing system there. But he won with the Panthers. He moved to the Broncos. They make the grand final with him. Can he make a grand final with us? Also, greatest non-system player, James Maloney or Glenn Lazarus. Just throwing that in there.
Maloney was great. Maloney could play anyway. Yeah. Okay, let's go into now the bench. Best. So we've got 8 players. Let's go to the best 4. So you got Lecker for us, Bunty, Dimitrik, and Laban. Or you got Jaden Brayley, Tyrone Thompson. Wow, be interested to see how he's going. Thomas Kant, and Brody Jones.
Name ours again.
So Lecker, Bunty, Dimitrik, Jacob.
Lecker, Buntrick, Lecker, Dimitrik, Jacob, and Brayley.
Jaden Brayley
Newcastle for me.
He's hit the nail on the head for me. I think the only one that has sort of potential to get in there is maybe Thomas Kant. I don't mind him. I think he's a decent little talent they got in Newcastle. Tyrone Thompson still very green to rugby league. But yeah, Jaden Brayley's the definite pick for me out of that Newcastle.
Who was it again? You got Lecker, Dimitrik in there, was it?
Yep.
Well, 3 besides Bunty, and then Jaden Brayley.
Jaden Brayley filled it in.
Whilst they're saying Kant is a gun, just anyone just answer that on Kant, Ash?
Very talented, very talented. Again, like worries me, Newcastle system. How he's going to prolong his career for a long period of time, right? And looks like a guy that fills in multiple spots. They put him at centre for a period there when they had injuries, because they did have a decent amount of injuries to start the season. Very, very talented. But at the moment, I'd have Lecker, Dimitrik, and Laban over him as potential-wise. And I think, obviously, Jaden Brayley, I think he's he's still very, very good 9 and be incredible if we had him as a 14. Could you imagine, someone like Jaden Brayley coming on with Wade Egan, be cool, 1-2 punch, but good player.
You can really see the knowledge of those that play fantasy.
Yeah. Whilst I think his knowledge of fantasy is quite high.
Coming through at other clubs, and I'm like, who? And you just like know the whole provenance of their junior career.
That's crazy.
Yeah, nah, it's good fun. Hey man, we got our own fantasy leagues, Keith, and super coaches. So a lot of these guys have been studying all the players and stuff. So
Good knowledge,
but
great knowledge.
tells me I don't know who Can is, so it tells you how well I'm doing on my super coach. I'm down the bottom pretty much. But, it's good stuff. Okay,
As
guys,
an international man, Keithy, bro, just wait till we bring Junior and Semba over from the Super League and get him over here in NRL.
Yeah.
Big
Yeah,
talent, big edge back rower.
He's a big boy. Yeah. He'll go well, actually. At the right club. Just don't join Newcastle.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, there you go. There's your team. Look, it's pretty mixed, this one. Like I said, I think they've got some strike, but it's all Kalen Ponga or bust. Whereas I think we've got a good mix of talent. Look at our young boys in there on the bench. That's absolutely fantastic. So there you have it, guys. We'll just drop that out. Okay, let's guys. We 124 of you consistently. I've been watching the numbers, and you guys have all been hanging around. Please hit that like and subscribe. It's great to have you guys in here. And just we'll mention it at the end, but please go to Everything Rugby League podcast, Keith Whitelock's podcast. Absolutely fantastic insights. We'll get to it towards the end as well. But you want to learn about International Rugby League. You want to learn about the global game and the different little parts of the world that are exploring rugby league and learning the game. Please check out his podcast. So go there now or later on to Everything Rugby League podcast on Spotify and all other platforms I mentioned. Okay.
Yep.
Let's get now, guys. We're gonna wrap this up soon, but score prediction. Just when we're up.
Let me before we go to Ash for that, let me give you a run up to it if I can. Here's our Anzac Day results since 2014.
Oh no.
Melbourne, we beat Melbourne 16-10. 2015, we lost to Melbourne 42-0. 2016, we lost in Golden Point 25-24 to Melbourne. 2017, we lost 14-20 or 20-14. 2018, we lost 50-6. 2019, 13-12 in Golden Point. No game due to COVID. 2021, 42-20 lost. 2022, 70-6. Sorry, guys. 2023, we lost 30-22. 2024, we lost 27-24. And 2025, Ash?
It's
Ash, what do you got?
Listen, it's going off that history.
Thanks, Will's tea.
I was just like, I knew this was going downhill every year that we had. But honestly, this game is a little bit of a banana peel type of game, right? Like Newcastle coming in now on a decent little losing streak. I think they're, 3 on the chart now? Losses from memory. Their attack is just not clicking into gear at all. I think they've collectively only scored about 60 points. I'll just double check that. 60 points out of 7 rounds. They're scoring under 10 points per game for the season, right? Oh. Like, that is diabolical, right? And so a team like that, what you always got to worry about, right? And the Warriors worry about this quite a bit, is being that bounce back team, right? For a side that, coming in, they've been underperforming for such a long period of time. We do remember last year, the Gold Coast Titans, they didn't win a game until they came against our beloved Warriors. But this will really show where we're at, I feel like, this season, how much of a steel edge we do have. They've still got someone like KP that they can still definitely threaten us. I'm going with a 20-12 victory, New Zealand Warriors. Yeah, I think that, the Newcastle Knights may shock us early. They might score first too, depending on how that goes, which has been a little bit of a habit for us at the moment. But I think we can lock that down, hopefully, and really grind this victory out. I think that, if our forward pack gets its hands into this game, I think we can change the contest in our favour. And hopefully, Luke Metcalfe can bring it home with the boys there and really continue to grow elevate himself in that number 7 jersey. So I'm going 20-12, 1-12 contest.
Great analysis too. New Zealand Warriors playing teams back into form for 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
No, I love the club. It's been a painful many decades, or fair few decades now. But I'm going to go real conservative scoreline as well. I'm going to say something like 22-10. I just want us to play boring football, let Newcastle hang themselves, and
Agreed.
just kick it to the corners. It might not be the most pretty thing to watch for the people of Christchurch, but 22-12, just let them defeat themselves.
Agreed.
Yeah. I think we're a low scoring team at the moment, just being honest. And they're actually working. It's actually working, and I think it will match up well again against a Knights team. So I think pretty much similar scorelines to you guys, where we're going to probably score 3 tries and grind it out, and let them make mistakes and just keep bashing it through the middle. Pretty much is what I'm expecting, with a few broken plays, similar to the Broncos. But look, you just never know sometimes. But yeah, I'm feeling okay about this. I feel there's something about this squad. Like, I think this squad will get pumped by teams like Melbourne consistently. It just doesn't match up sometimes. But I think this team will when it matches up with a good team similar level or that where we can match them physically, I think we'll pretty much do quite well. That's how I see our team currently.
Why is it in Christchurch? Like, I love Christchurch, but it
that
seems
deal.
like
They did a deal with Cameron George said they did a deal with Christchurch City Council.
So they paid more if they got the Anzac Day game.
Well, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know about that, but they're going to Te Kaha next year, the new stadium, I think, or whatever.
I love that. So the annual Anzac Day will be in Te Kaha. Te Kaha, is that it?
Te Kaha is the name of the stadium. I'm not sure when it's finished. I know the bro that's in the chat's from Christchurch, but I can't wait to see that stadium.
Big game every year if it's in that stadium.
I don't know if it'll be an Anzac game, but I think they'll have it. They have a game booked every year, and I think a preseason game. So I think they have 2 till 2026. I think it was, or I can't remember the deal.
At Rugby League Park.
Rugby League Park, Addington Showgrounds. Yes. Okay, guys, there you have it. That's our score predictions. Just quickly jumping into the developments. Shout out to I had such a busy week. I only got a chance to watch Warriors Anonymous. If you don't know, well, you should know that they are doing so well over there with our man Gerard over there with the highlights packages that he puts together. But the New South Wales Cup, Jersey Flegg and Harold Matts especially coming this weekend. Ash, what did you make of Cup and Jersey Flegg performances this weekend just passed?
Yeah, bro, starting off on Jersey Flegg, really dominant performance in that first half, sort of continued it on, and then we kind of let it go. As Keith kind of pointed out at the end of the show, it's just a little bit of a trait that we've had a little bit, especially in Flegg this year. But what I have been very happy to see is Jet Cleary continuing to settle himself in our system now. He's starting to really show himself in some areas, and he had a lot of great moments in this game, especially that real weird moment that it looked like he was dead and gone. I don't know if anyone's seen the highlight out there. Legit, they brought the stretcher out in the football field, and he just did the full Undertaker on everyone.
Where he somehow flicked past.
Yeah, that was great.
Incredible, right? So he's having a lot of good moments, which is so good to see, obviously, right? Like, he's come over with a massive name. Did take a little bit to get going, but now he's starting to really find himself. I don't want to continue to put a lot of hype on him just yet. Obviously, the big name carries a lot of weight, right? But he's definitely growing in our system, and it's so good to see that he's starting to click into gear. A lot of other really good performance in that one. I thought Kahu Kappa had a really good game in this game as well, scoring a try as well. Showed really good footwork. It's just good to see our Flegg side, starting to pick up some wins now. To start the season, it looked a little bit dire. Getting smoked off the park against the side in the Raiders, I think, is the top of the competition there at Jersey Flegg, and just dominating everyone at the moment because they've got some real good talent. Actually, no, they've dropped their game over the weekend, so they've dropped out of that. But 2 wins, 1 draw, and 4 losses. We're sitting mid-pack at the moment in Jersey Flegg, which is not too bad, right? Another win, we get into that top 8 sort of discussion, Flegg. Which isn't too bad. And we all know about our New South Wales Cup team at the moment. Absolutely killing it. Top of the competition. 40-12 win over the Dragons, where it was just a tenor-blood masterclass, in my opinion. Honestly, him going back in the Cup, setting the boys up in all their positions. I thought Geronimo Doyle probably had one of his better games that I've seen him play Cup. Filling in certain places. I've really enjoyed Army Tuanai, his game overall.
Yeah, Tuanai, that's right, yeah.
And really, really happy to see the continued development of Luke Hansen going from flag to cup. I think that he's shown he's too good to be in flag, but due to that connection of having him and Cleary at the moment, he's now jumped up the cup, doing great things. And the last person I want to touch on that we all know and love, Sam Healy, just continuing to develop in cup at the moment. His footy IQ, or his just intelligence of just picking up the ball at the right moment, just skimming teams left, right, and centre. I think he's going to cause teams a lot of havoc, and maybe there will become a day, maybe mid to late this season, where he can pick up a 14 jersey for our first grade squad. But he's still a little bit raw, Samuel, but a very, very talented player that we continue to have down there in New South Wales Cup. So good to see the boys continue to the uptrend there. We are now sitting at top of the competition there by a decent margin there on differential. The only other team that competes with us at the moment is the Newtown Jets that beat us the week before without Tanner Boyd. So shout out to those boys. And lastly, just want to touch on a major game coming into this weekend. Our Harold Matts going into our last final, well, the preliminary final game. I'm pretty sure preliminary semi. I always get those mixed up, but the one before the grand final. If we win this one, we're back into another grand final with Harold Matts. After getting a nice win a couple of weeks ago over the Roosters, we're versing the Rabbitohs coming into this game. Rabbitohs, very talented squad, but I think we've got the crop over there to do it. So make sure you check that out on Sunday, 10 a.m. over here in Australian time, Australian Eastern Standard Time, which would be 12, I'm guessing, over in New Zealand. So guys, jump onto Barstool TV to check out our Harold Matts boys, and hopefully they can make another grand final. TJ is doing an amazing job with those boys there, so a lot of great talent coming through the grades right now.
And my only contribution is Tanner Stowers-Smith, one of the only genuine Canterbury products named on the extended bench for the NRL side for the game in Christchurch. Mm-hmm. Is Webby getting sentimental, or is he a chance? I don't know. Just throwing it out.
I like that one.
Well, there was a rumor going around last week that he might have got really close to his debut last week. I don't know what held him back from that.
Christchurch.
Maybe that held him back from it, but he's been absolutely killer in cup, and he's well deserved to get up in there because he last year didn't have his best year, especially coming off his SG ball form, where he was incredible, and then jumping into cup it took a little bit, but now he's really stepped up. I think his fitness has taken a whole new level, and hopefully get to see him soon because I love Tanner. I think he's an incredible talent that we have as well.
I could just see a social media piece already coming up tomorrow where they're interviewing Tanner at his local high school. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of got that vibe.
Yeah. Local
you know how
boy
Warriors social media. Yeah, you know how Warriors social media do it. There's a story going on. If you start to see him pop up, you know something's happening. Okay, man. It's been great so far. It's not over yet, guys. Please hit that like and subscribe. I'm gonna push Keith out until as far as I can because I love, and you guys know that me and Ash love international footy, and we, when the NRL season finished last year, it wasn't over. We absolutely continued on with the Pacific Championships and covered as much as we could overseas as well. And it's actually a lot of traffic comes through in terms of Wise Up TV during the international period. You wouldn't think it, but some of the biggest streams and content that we do is from the international space. So, but our man here, Keith, is an expert or is knowledgeable about the whole game globally. But specifically, I just wanted to ask you, Keith, to start off with the Pacific Championships so far. It's in its third year. Do you think it's been a success, and where do you see it going in the future? The Pac Champs.
Yeah, I think it's been a big success, and I think it's still growing. I'll be very blunt with this. I think the organisation needs to be taken off the New Zealand Rugby League in terms of the promotion and marketing of it. Even in New Zealand, I think they just don't have the expertise or the budget. And the ARLC do have the budget for it. But what we don't see is behind the scenes, the Australian government's funding a lot of this as well. Particularly, the Fiji, the Pacific Bowl, we call it, the Fiji, Papua New Guinea, and the Cook Islands side of things. So this is a financially viable product, but I don't think people care that much about that. The product that's on field took a big leap in this year just gone compared to that first year. Even though, for Kiwi fans, that is fantastic to see them thrash the Aussies in Hamilton there. And the fact that Australia is touring England opens up the door for Matama Tonga, Taua Samoa, and the New Zealand Kiwis to all play in the one series. And I struggle to recall that might be the most passionate series in rugby league history. That'll rival State of Origin in terms of the ferocity in my mind, if not surpass it. So I think it's been a big success. Longer term, I think you'll see Papua New Guinea with 15 odd million people and genuine pathways being built start to really challenge those three nations that I just mentioned, and even in Australia. You've got 15 million people where rugby league's its national sport. You need to study rugby league at school. That's how crazy it is. And they just need the pathways.
Cool.
So they're a rugby league nation where they're going to have an NRL team, and they're not relying on a diaspora. They have the population to be able to develop genuine pathways of their own. But yeah, the upcoming series with Samoa, Tonga, and New Zealand is going to whet many people's appetites, including mine. 100%. It is. I've got goosebumps just talking about it right now.
So are you saying that even this specific Pacific Champions coming up, the ARLC should take the lead in promoting this one, even though their focus is on the Ashes? Would you say that?
Well, I don't think their focus is on the Ashes. I think that's Rugby League Commercial, which is the commercial wing of the RFL in England. And more pertinently, Simon Moran, who's the owner of Warrington and the most successful music promoter in England. He's behind the Oasis reunion, what was the Spice Girls reunion. So he's given them he's told them how to sell tickets. There's a strategy behind naming Headingley as the local sort of like Yorkshire one. It only holds about 20,000 tops. And that's sold out before the general sale even went on sale. And then why don't you name a stadium that's still in the north, but it's got a bit of novelty about it, because we haven't played a Super League grand final there or anything like that, or a Magic round there. And that's Everton's new stadium. So the novelty of that new stadium alone created there was only 1,500 tickets left by the time the general sale to the public actually went on sale. Now it's snapped up straight away. So that's 52,000 sold out already. Wow. And what that does is it filters demand down into the only game left, which is the opener at Wembley Stadium. Now, they haven't reported how many tickets they've sold. Reportedly, it's a little over 20,000, but there's a long way to this series. Wow. And they haven't started promoting that series in London to the Australian expats yet, because there is an announcement coming up. No one really knows exactly what it is. It's to do with the London Broncos, and it's been moved back to May, and it's at the Australian Embassy in London. So they want to they don't want to start promoting the Wembley game to the Aussie expats in London until they actually let us know what that, what's happening with the London Broncos. What's the Australian involvement? Why is this being launched at the Australian Embassy? So I don't know. You guys make of that what you want. But that will be they've already sold the last Ashes series is 2003, and this series, despite the tickets only being on sale for the last couple of weeks, has already sold more tickets than the attendance for that series in 2003. This is the shot in the arm that the game needs. I was talking to Phil Kaplan from 4020 Magazine last week on the podcast, and he was saying it's not just that, it's the fact that it's on BBC at 2:30 in the afternoon, and that is going to get people knowing which players, like the superstars that we have in the game. Yes, the Super League is broke. No one's denying that. NRL does need to buy the Super League or get involved somehow to rescue it. But what Phil Kaplan said was that people always say, people used to know the household names like Martin Afire back in the day. That's because Rugby League Internationals, England versus Australia, was on the BBC at 2:00 in the afternoon. That's how Martin Afire got known as a household name outside of the north of England. So this is a throwback to that kind of heyday where rugby league could actually penetrate the general market outside of the M62 corridor up north. So you can't underestimate what the Ashes series means to the game in England. Unfortunately, the RLPA got in the way of playing a game against France.
I know.
Play so many games.
They always do, these guys. I swear.
Yeah.
Man. I just want to quick. Ash, you got any questions for Keith in the international space? I'll keep going.
I definitely I love to hear, as obviously growing up, Australia versus but even just the test back in the day of like Australia versus Great Britain, you know, when I was growing up as a little boy, it was just a major thing that I used to love getting up at like 5 o'clock in the morning, you know, over here in Australia, watching Darren Lockyer and Willie Mason, all those boys get to work. And there used to be real good, like competitive tests in some aspects of it as well. It'd be good to see us go back over to England in an area that at the moment, like rugby league, like they're a side that when you go over and play them on their own turf, they can hold up a fight, right? And, you know, obviously there's a lot of talk around the refereeing and all that sort of stuff over there, but I'm just excited to see this Ashes test and see it bring back that old school feel of like, you know, the Australian tours and going back over there and, you know, try to, especially when the International Rugby League or the Pacific Championships, they're stepping up in their level. Like Samoa, if all the rumours are correct with Payne Haas and maybe Tino and the Hammers already pledging and stuff, like that's going to be incredible to see how that plays out. If the Pacific Championship goes bang over there here, and then obviously the Australia versus England lifts that audience there too. I think it's just incredible for the international game, and I think we all agree here. Like for rugby league to continue to grow, in my opinion, it has to be international. It's something that I've incredibly missed when I was growing up as a boy, and it's good to see that it's finally taking precedent at the moment. It's finding its way back into rugby league as fans.
Yeah, the other two things that I want to touch on, just because I know we're pressed for time, is that I think it's ridiculous that Victor Radley can't play for New South Wales. The guy was born and raised here. You're only really disadvantaging the Kiwis, and you're asking people to forego $90,000 a year, and apparently what will rise in terms of the match payments for State of Origin to play for $5,000 per test for the Kiwis. So it's not just... You're basically, I wouldn't say bribing them, but like it's not fair that they're put in that position where you're foregoing the best part of $100,000. And the fact that, you know, if Jerome Luai can play for New South Wales and Samoa, then surely Kieran Foran could play for New South Wales and the Kiwis. I just think it's really unfair for the Kiwis in particular because it happens more often to them and it needs to change. And the second thing I want to touch on, you go, Levon.
I got a question for you. My vibe that I get, even listening to Gallen and all that, there's still a pride in the Kangaroos jersey. They don't want to let go of that control of the game because, you know, in essence, you know, 13 World Cup wins, you know, all the records in the world. There's still a lot of people that don't want to let go of that traditional sense of origin is that piece that leads to that Kangaroo selection. Like, I know there's a portion still fighting hard for that. But there's the benefit of, you know, opening the game up that you have origin players that can benefit the Kiwis because they know the levels and that can then benefit the international game. Why do you think that? Is it because of that history of the Kangaroos that people are still holding on to, like not letting the England or the Kiwis get a bit of those players? You know what I mean?
Maybe. I actually think that some of them, despite this going to sound ridiculous given the role they play, don't understand that we're not asking for the age 13 where you play your junior football and reside in that state to be abolished. We're not saying Sam Burgess could have played for New South Wales or James Graham, for example, or Sean Johnson for Queensland. We're not saying that. We're saying that if you fulfill the criteria of having played your junior football in that state prior to that age, then you should be played. You know, the floodgates have opened, whether people like Paul Gallen like it or not. And if you want to prevent Tier 2 representatives from playing State of Origin, then you're just going to kill international rugby league. Because the reality is that, you know, we've only got two professional competitions for rugby league in the world. If Australia hoards all the talent like it was in the past, then you're just going to regress to what international rugby league was 15 years ago. This is a golden opportunity. Rugby union built the respect of their World Cup after 1987 on small islands like Tonga and Samoa being competitive. And then in that time, nations like Ireland started to get more and more competitive. So we just need the teams that can be competitive at a World Cup level to be there for as long as possible, whilst the game is developed in rugby league playing nations that have a decent population so they can actually create their own pathways. And last week, the IRL identified Wales, France, and Papua New Guinea as those three countries where they're going to give a disproportionate amount of funding to because they see them as having a big enough population and rugby league being, even in a small amount, in the psyche of the public there. So I think, you know, that's just my opinion.
That's great. That's great to see.
On that point, though, too, like, you know, if, like, obviously we think about, you know, all these the players that play for heritage, because I completely agree with your point. I believe that, like, international stage should be for your heritage, or where you want to represent your heritage, and your state of origin is really where you grew up and played junior footy growing up. And I think you love Queensland as much as, like, the next guy, if you grew up from 13 playing onwards. It doesn't have to be about your race or about your your heritage overall, like, to play origin and be like, if Jason Tamalolo was like, if he was born here in Australia, right, and he was playing, through Queensland and that, like, why should we hold him back from, like, representing his parents of being Tongan heritage or, New Zealand heritage, and obviously play for Queensland. And what that also does is hearing a lot of talking about, not bringing into the political discussions of Australia or anything like that, but obviously a lot of talk about, was it Dean Witters that bringing up that he wants to make a Indigenous Australian side. It's like, but if we take away, right, the obviously not take away, but if those, like, Samoan heritage players, stuff like that, Polynesian heritage players goes and they want to represent their heritage as well, because they're just as Australian as me overall. At the end of the day, they're born here, but they want to represent their heritage. Like, the Indigenous players end up getting better at that. Like, they get better positions in that sort of aspect as well, right? Like, you get more opportunity for our Australian squad to be, in that sort of aspect as well. So really, at the end of the day, because I don't agree with that whole separating Australia in my sort of sense, because everyone, I believe, is Australian, but you've got the Indigenous Australian as well. But that gives more opportunities for Indigenous Australians.
Really well, yeah. Mel,
he did.
We do a good job with the All Stars to celebrate those cultures and Indigenous round. The reality is that Samoa and Tonga are independent countries, and our Indigenous population here in Australia is a wonderful part of the people, of the wider people that that make up our great nation. We are all Australians, so we all really represent Australia, if I can word that delicately.
Exactly.
Hey, Keith, just last question, because I'll talk your ear off. Because I've always loved international footy. I actually, a little side story. I used to. So remember, who was the guy? Dane Campbell. Remember Dane?
From North Queensland, the recruitment manager, and he started.
So I did my mission for my church. I did my mission in Vanuatu for 2 years. So
he created rugby league there.
Yeah. I came back and then I lived in Aussie for a little bit, and I found out about the Vanuatu Rugby League, and Dane was the coach, and I went and I was water boy for Vanuatu Rugby League when they first started off. Then they played Cabramatta Nines, I think it was, and and they had Meninga's nephew. Can't remember his name. His last name was Meninga, but it was one of Mel's nephews.
Yeah, he's a South Sea Islander of heritage. I remember that game. They played Greece, I think, from memory.
Yeah. I was a water boy in the old.
Oh shit! Yeah.
I just wanted to be involved because I did my mission over there, and I wanted to be involved in rugby league. The two things, Dane was kind enough to let me jump on board, but it was fantastic.
He's got a real expansionist mindset. He's obviously North Queensland Cowboys recruitment manager, and he tried to tee up an NRL game in Japan. He told me because Toyota is a long-time sponsor, and it did sort of have some commercial viability to it, but unfortunately maybe a bridge too far.
Oh well, no, that's great. And guys, just quickly, those are some of the stories you'll hear on the Everything Rugby League podcast. So I encourage you guys now to go subscribe there. Jose has put up the link to the podcast and the YouTube link there as well. So go and subscribe to the YouTube, guys. But we'll leave it there for tonight, man. I just want to do a massive thank you to Keith for coming on. And
thank you, Bella.
What's that quote? Can you just give it to me one more time? The NRL is not a finishing school.
It's not a finishing school.
I love it. I'm going to use that one. That's fantastic. No, but thank you so much, Keith, man. We want you on anytime you can come on, and you're free to come on. Please do. We love having your analysis and your thoughts and passion for rugby league. Yes, guys, I've got 2 Aussies on here right now that are Warriors fans, diehard Warriors fans.
Crazy that.
People. We're going global. We've got one in Chicago. We've got one in South Korea somewhere. I think so. Anyway, but yeah, where else can we find you, Keith? Any other socials or?
Yeah, I'm on X, Keith_Whitelock. So pretty basic one there. And yeah, mostly I sort of hide behind the Everything Rugby League banner. So the X page is there. Most of our fans are on Facebook. I think we've got I don't know, pushing 300,000 of you guys. So if any of you guys follow us on Facebook, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. The website, everythingrugbyleague.com, which I need to do some work on, actually, because some back-end problems, but we won't go into that.
And actually, as well, This Warrior's Life as well. I know you feature on there sometimes with Will and Brad and Fonzie. So, guys, check that out as well. I do listen in sometimes as well to see what the brothers have, because they got great analysis over it as well. So I know you guys will know that. And but go subscribe, please, to the bro right now before you shoot off. But yeah, thanks again, Keith. Ash, what do you got coming up this week, my man?
Yeah, tomorrow night, me and Brody will be doing our Down Unders. So obviously we touch on all things rugby league, all the news going around right now. The games over the weekend, our thoughts on who's the boom team at the moment, who's the team that's sort of laying dormant. And also we will not be doing our Supercoach stream this week, so we'll end it off on the Supercoach on tomorrow night. Me and Brody will be going to watch the Broncos versus the Bulldogs game. Obviously, Brody, a big Bulldogs fan. So I'm going to get amongst it with some Bulldogs fans, apparently. So that's going to be real interesting. It's going to warm me up for my... Yeah, bro, yeah. It's going to warm me up for my Sydney trip. I've got to be in a Bulldogs away section with the Warriors Warriors jersey on. So that's going to be real interesting.
That was me at Hazemel Mazari's last game. And we scored first and I went nuts. And then the whole game I copped it because we lost.
Classic Mars.
No, but guys, go check out Ash's stuff, Keith's stuff. We'll have watch along on Friday night. We'll set up the watch along. Come along, and then pop in when you can in halftime, whatever. But yeah, we'll be back. We'll be back this Friday night for the game, and hopefully next time we do this, Keith doesn't have to read the list of losses. There might be a win in there.
Fingers crossed, please.
Please.
But thanks once again, everyone, and we'll catch you guys on Friday. Stay safe. Enjoy the rest of your week. Up the wires.
Up the wires. Woo.